You're watching WHSV News 3. 11 minutes of nonstop news and weather starts right now.
A man found guilty in a shooting could serve 9 months in jail. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dion Guillory.
And I'm Allison Brunner. We start with that breaking news. A jury recommends 9 months as a sentence for Rudy Dean. They found him guilty of unlawful wounding for shooting Robert Crawford back in January 2012.
Where we stand tonight is a bittersweet situation. First of all, we are thrilled that the Commonwealth was unsuccessful in charging Rudy Dean with aggravated malicious wounding or even malicious wounding.
Dean will be sentenced in early June. There are also breaking details tonight in the Boston bombings.
Investigators using surveillance video are reporting significant progress in the search for whoever bombed the marathon Monday. Here's what we know right now. No arrests have been made in the case. We have learned the name of the third victim killed is Lingzi Liu. She was a Chinese national in grad school at Boston University, and the Obamas will be in Boston tomorrow. Marcy Gonzalez is live in Boston to kick off our team coverage. Marcy.
Good evening. Still no arrests tonight, but we're told investigators are making significant progress in their investigation.
Closing in on a possible suspect. Law enforcement sources tell ABC News they now have a clear image of a man they believe could be the person who planted one or both of the bombs near the finish line of the Boston Marathon Monday. ABC News has learned the person investigators believe could have caused all of the carnage and chaos was captured on surveillance video taken from outside of a Lord & Taylor department store. He's reportedly shown talking on a cell phone and carrying a black bag strapped across his chest, then possibly leaving that bag at the scene. Tonight, no clear answers on how close the FBI is to making an arrest.
Before they make any arrests, they're going to have the case pretty much. You know, the evidence will be there. They're going to be able to really put this on somebody. They're not going to rush to judgment on this.
It has been a day of anticipation and tension.
Code red, evacuate.
Code red, evacuate the building.
The federal courthouse where any suspect would stand trial was evacuated today because of what turned out to be an unsubstantiated bomb threat. A city on edge and still grieving. A memorial grows by the hour near the site of the bombings where the FBI is still hard at work. Friends and classmates from Boston University remember 23-year-old graduate student Lingzi Liu.
And the victims will be honored again tomorrow morning here less than a mile from where they lost their lives. The president and first lady will come to this cathedral to join in an interfaith service. Live in Boston, Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News. Now back to you.
All right, Marcy. And many victims of the Boston Marathon bombings face long recoveries. Dr. Christopher Geary, an orthopedic surgeon at Tufts Medical Center, talked about some of the injuries he saw in the emergency room.
The biggest thing we're dealing with on Monday was the soft tissue injury component of it, removing shrapnel, but also just dealing with, there was tendon lacerations, there was fractures, there were nerves that had been cut, those kind of things.
Geary says he and other hospital workers stayed late or came in on their days off to help the victims. A 5-year-old boy is still in critical condition at another hospital.
The victims of the Boston bombings were mentioned on the Senate floor. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren says lawmakers are there for anyone hurt in the blasts.
When tragedy strikes, we are also one family. We hurt together and we help together. In the weeks and months ahead, your struggles will be our struggles. Your pain, our pain. Your efforts, our efforts. We will be together through sorrow and anger, rehabilitation and recovery. We will be together because we are one family.
And Warren also remembered each of the 3 people killed in Monday's bombings. Senator William Cohen spoke about how grateful he is about all the support Boston is getting. And some of that support is coming from one community still working to move forward after its own tragedy. Folks in Newtown, Connecticut held a vigil to remember the Boston Marathon victims. The community is still recovering from the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre back in December. Church members say something has to change.
In this town, the healing has to begin. As a nation, we are all Americans, whether we be Muslim, Hindu, Jew, Buddhist.
Many people at that vigil say they just want all of us to be able to put our differences aside and come together. They say praying to God will help heal us all.
New at 11, after the bombings at the Boston Marathon, many people are looking for ways to help, like donating to a charity or fund, but beware, your money could be going in someone else's pocket. And tonight, we'll show you how to give without being a victim of scams and ripoff.
The images are heartbreaking. 2 explosions going off during one of the most popular running events in the world. And as we all look for ways to help victims of the Boston Marathon bombings, be careful.
This is just like night follows day. There are scams that are coming up.
That's the warning from Tom Gallagher with the Better Business Bureau. He says scammers are always ready to take your money after any tragedy. Hundreds of ripoff websites are now up and running.
Boston Marathon, bomb, attack, or whatever it may be, where folks would then be directed to make a contribution.
Crooks are also using social media to take advantage of you. One fraudster set up a Twitter account minutes after the bombing, claiming to be associated with the Boston Marathon organization. It was quickly shut down. To avoid being scammed, make sure you donate to charities you know and trust. Don't give out personal or financial information unless you know the charity is legit. And make sure you know how the charity plans to use your money.
If they can't get that money given out in a timely fashion or in a business-like fashion, then that's not going to be a valuable contribution.
Also, never send cash. You can't be sure the organization will receive your donation, and you won't have a record for tax purposes. And remember, you can always count on WHSV for continuing coverage of the explosions at the Boston Marathon. Our Daybreak team will have new information on this story starting at 5 a.m. and then Good Morning America continues our coverage at 7. We have some breaking news in the case of suspected rice and tainted letters sent to President Obama and a U.S. Senator. Investigators have just arrested Kenneth Curtis from Mississippi. You're looking at aerial video from the scene of where that man was arrested. Now, these letters, believed to be contaminated with the toxic substance, were intercepted before they could get anywhere near their intended targets.
And developing details tonight on the gun bill defeated in the Senate. And as soon as it failed, lawmakers started feeling the heat.
Reorder in the Senate. The gallery.
That's a reaction from one woman sitting in the Senate gallery after the vote. The proposal to expand background checks for people buying guns online and at gun shows fell short of winning the 60 votes needed to pass. President Obama, appearing with families of victims of gun violence, blasted Congress for voting down the bill.
All in all, this was a pretty shameful day for Washington. But this effort is not over. I want to make it clear to the American people, we can still bring about meaningful changes that reduce gun violence, so long as the American people don't give up on it.
And the NRA released a statement that reads in part, quote, expanding background checks at gun shows or elsewhere will not reduce violent crime or keep our kids safe in their schools.
Our hour-by-hour forecast lets you know when inconvenient weather is ahead and what it means for your plans. WHSV's First Alert Storm Team.
Well, a pretty nice evening for tonight. Clouds staying in place, and we have seen a couple of showers. Most of this hanging towards the Augusta County, even some into Highland County, into that area for tonight. And notice, as this radar is on loop, they didn't exactly move a whole lot. There's not a lot of upper-level wind to really steer this action along, so that's where the activity is pretty much staying in place for tonight. So that would be the best chance to see any spotty showers or maybe a rogue thunderstorm overnight. Most of the thunderstorm activity has actually stayed just south of our area, but our temperature still fairly mild outside, 64 degrees, but our humidity is climbing. Dew points are in the upper 50s, so humidity is at 80% right now. And with that and those light winds, well, that's where we will see that moisture in place and fog developing overnight once again. So again, be careful with the driving early tomorrow morning. Take a look at weather watchers calling in these numbers: 67 in Stanton, 65 for Fishersville, 62 in Timberville, and 63 for Winchester. Temperatures, because of all that moisture in the air and those high dew points, temperatures won't actually be falling too much more for tonight. But take a look at our storm system. This is what we are watching. That will be moving into our area for Friday. Just a big severe weather maker in the central part of the country. This is going to weaken as it moves towards our area, but it will set off some showers and storms as we head into Friday late afternoon and into the evening. So overnight tonight, clouds do stay in place, and and we will see some spotty shower activity again, mainly towards the southern portions of the area. I think that it will be the best chance. By tomorrow morning, that fog will be in place, and we'll see some cloudy skies, especially for at least the first half of the day. I think we'll see a few peaks of sunshine in the afternoon. Once again, kind of the pattern that we've been sticking with for the last several days. Only an isolated chance of a light shower for tomorrow. Things stay quiet for Thursday night and into Friday morning. We will see cloudy skies, maybe a few peaks of sunshine. The more sunshine we see on Friday, the more unstable things become and the better chance to see some storms and some strong storms possible. This forecast model run shows us this line of storms entering the higher elevations around 2 o'clock. I think it could be a little bit later. We'll have to keep our eyes on this, but we are expecting this line to come through late afternoon into Friday evening. That will produce some very gusty winds and possibly some heavy downpours at times. So heads up for your Friday evening commute. It will be a wet one and a windy one. Temperatures tonight, 58 degrees for the highlands, around 60 for the valley. Tomorrow, daytime highs will be in the upper 70s for most of the valley, mid 70s into the highlands, and a little cooler into the northern portions of the area once again. 74 for Woodstock, 78 for Harrisonburg, 79 for Stanton. Take a look as we head into the next 7 days, because that is when we are looking at our next storm. Friday, winds really pick up for the afternoon. It will be a bit breezy tomorrow, but really windy for our Friday. That cold front moves through late afternoon into Friday evening, and it does look to taper off as we head into the overnight Friday night, and that will give us lots of sunshine for Saturday and Sunday, cooler temperatures. This is I called it almost a textbook spring-like forecast. Showers, thunderstorms. We have temperatures in the 70s and in the 60s and a little sunshine. So very spring-like.
That's the best way to put a textbook weather forecast.
Pretty much is, but it's, you know, it's pretty typical for this time of year, and we do have to keep our eyes on Friday. I do think the gusty winds will be the biggest threat from that system.
All right. Thank you, Aubrey. A Rockingham County emergency worker saves a life only to find out it's a local lieutenant. The emotional reunion between the two.
The money is there. You've got plenty of money.
Financial frustration why hundreds of people in this crowd want to have their taxes raised. And you can join the conversation. We love to hear from you right there on your screen. Ways you can reach Allison and I on Facebook and Twitter. Holla at us. New at 11, your voice being heard tonight at the Augusta County Board of Supervisors meeting.
The supervisors held an open forum on the proposed 2013-2014 budget. WHSC's David Coy explains what people are saying and doing to make sure things go their way. David?
Allison, the meeting room was filled to capacity. Everyone had one thing in common. They wanted to see change.
If we don't get better school funding, we are going to continue to be the stepping stone school system and continue to lose the best and brightest educational staff to other localities.
Hundreds of people came into this Augusta County Board of Supervisors meeting to make sure they were seen and heard. All of them saying schools need more money.
The money is there. You've got plenty of money.
Some had plans on how to come up with the needed cash. One man suggests using capital savings and not raise taxes.
We have $6 million+ Give the school system $2 million per year for 3 years.
And over a 3-year period, that $6 million would be great, but what are we going to do at the end of that 3-year period?
The audience was told not to clap, but did anyway for the superintendent, Dr. Bishop. Some believe that some of the things needed in the proposed budget isn't necessary.
Technology upgrades and replacing computers, is this really necessary? How good do computers need to be for educational purposes?
One parent commented that one school recently received 30 new iPads.
Unfortunately, because of lack of infrastructure at our school, only 10 or 11 of those can be run at the same time because of lack of broadband services at the school.
One teacher had a message for the board.
The students of Augusta County look to you and ask, no, they demand that you do better.
The majority of the crowd at the meeting wouldn't mind to have their taxes raised. They all agreed that education is an investment of the future. The board hopes to have a final vote of the budget on May 1st. Dion.
All right, David, thank you. New at 11, one 911 dispatcher gets honors after saving an officer while he was having a heart attack. Mark Monger received a phone call back in January from a caller reporting a seizure. That man was going into cardiac arrest. That man, Lieutenant Bill Rice with the Shenandoah County Sheriff's Office. Monger gave instructions to the caller to give CPR. Lieutenant Rice is alive and well today. You can see them hugging right there. Monger says he was just doing his job.
it's a good feeling when you can help somebody out that you actually know or know of, and you know, and it's a good outcome. I'm just glad he was able to make it through his ordeal and was able to be here with us today.
We're happy too. Lieutenant Rice says he doesn't remember that day at all. He says he felt like he had the flu prior to the attack.
Incredible story. Well, new details tonight in the Eastern Shore arson case. A woman charged has been denied bond. Police arrested Tonya Bundick and Charles Smith III earlier this month. Each is charged with arson and conspiracy to commit arson. State troopers say the duo is responsible for most of the 77 fires set in the area.
Right now, JMU students are finishing a study and survey about downtown parking. This will help city leaders understand if extra parking is needed. There are 905 parking spaces in downtown Harrisonburg. Students are looking at which lots get the most traffic and which ones are empty most of the time. An employee at Dave's Taverner says there aren't many spots in front of the restaurant. He says this could keep people from going there.
Some people just clearly don't like to walk. And that can change your perspective from going into somewhere, whether you have to walk 5 feet or if you have to walk 30.
Never have I been downtown and wanted to go to an event and parking's been so full enough to make me go back home.
The students will present their findings to city leaders in a few weeks. NASA not getting a test rocket off into space tonight. The reason why this is being grounded.
And what a man who worked at the adult store Pamela Secrets confessed about in court. New at 11, 2 folks from Waynesboro now know their punishments after animal cruelty charges.
Yeah, this case dates back to last October. Take a look at their pictures. Elvira King and James Simmons Macbeth. King will serve 20 days in jail. Both of them will pay court costs, thousands in restitution to the city for housing the dogs at the Animal Services Center. They also can't own, live, or care for an animal.
A suspect in a major bath salts case in Harrisonburg admits he's guilty. Matthew Comer confessed during a plea hearing today. Comer says he worked at Pamela Secrets selling hundreds of grams of the drug. Comer's sentencing will be in September. And Augustus Julius, the owner, and another man, Chairman King, also face charges in this case.
New at 11, plans for a test launch of a new NASA rocket off the coast of Virginia has been postponed. NASA's partner, Orbital Sciences Corporation, scrubbed today's planned launch due to technical problems. They say another attempt will be made on Friday.